Alright, and welcome back to part 2 of What If Gaara Was Raised in the Leaf Village. So last time we basically we explained how Gaara would have gone to the Leaf Village, why he's still in the Leaf Village. Everything there, Naruto and him became good friends, and they finally graduated together. So what happens next? Well, first off, I don't think Gaara has any influence on the whole Konohamaru thing. I think Gaara already took his photo. Gaara still lives on his own, by the way, so it's not like they're roommates or anything like that. They don't spend every waking moment with each other. So Naruto and Konohamaru, whatever, that's normal. But the big thing that came about in the questioning of what would the Team 7 look like? But what would Team 7 look like? How would it go about? Now, the three basic ideas that were brought up in the comments were that we just get an extra spot on Team 7. B, that, let's see, who was the other? What was, I got them up right now. I want to be sure I got all the options that were suggested before I tell you what I went with. Where is it? Where are you? Seriously. I don't think you know. Where are? Come on, I know they're down here. Okay. Someone said that Naruto would be put in reserve since he was late. Since he was a late graduation, and the teams would be uneven, and also that Jiraiya could be called in to train Naruto, and then that finally Gaara could be on the reserves. Because, balance-wise, he doesn't quite fit with the rest of the teams. There's also the option that Sakura gets held back. Because, let's be honest, her grades aren't inherently the best either. I mean, she's the best girl in the class, sure, but allegedly by just academics. But again, because of a balance, if I'm not mistaken, the best and the worst have to go together for the balance, which means Naruto would have to be on the team for that type of balance to work. Now, hold on a second. How are Konoha teams chosen? Let me be sure about that, because I've had someone before say that was a thing of the anime, but how are you? How are Konoha teams chosen? Teams chosen. How are the teams? I forgot to put the Konoha in when I typed that. Konoha teams chosen. There we go. Teams chosen. There we go. Chosen. So let's see here. In Konoha, teams are primarily chosen by instructors in the Ninja Academy based on combination of students' individual skills, strengths, weaknesses, and potential synergy, with the goal of creating balance of the team members who can complement each other and learn from each other. The instructors aim to put together teams, different skill sets that are represented among diverse approach. Now, that doesn't inherently say that the worst and the best student have to go together. That does not inherently say that. I'm double dipping on that right now. So again, there's nothing I can see that flat out states that, but that logic does remain sound. You'd have to balance out the teams with the worst and the best. I believe that Now, I don't believe that Obito was the worst student in the academy at the time, if we look at Kakashi's team. I don't know that for a fact. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But he wasn't the best student either. He was the Naruto of his day. Hyperactive knucklehead. He did know at least the fireball jutsu. So that does lean towards the idea that it doesn't have to be that. However, I do not believe Naruto gets held in the reserves. Just because he's a late graduation doesn't really mean anything. And even if he were to be held in reserves, I don't think that inherently means you call in Jiraiya. Because Jiraiya is, and I'm not going to go into too much of it, Jiraiya is arguably, and I'm saying this arguably stronger than Sarutobi at this point, because we know Sarutobi even said, Orochimaru, I don't think I can beat Orochimaru. And this is Sarutobi, now Prime Sarutobi definitely could, but and it was kind of true. Like, Saratobi had to pull a last-ditch effort suicide move just to hobble Orochimaru. And in the data books, Jiraiya is stated, if I'm not mistaken, to have an overall higher rating than Orochimaru. I believe he is stated even by the Akatsuki to be the strongest of the three Sannin, because Sage Mode, Sage Mode was a big part of it. But among other things, too, because I think he was the most well-rounded of the three of them. So Jiraiya, first off, Jiraiya is arguably stronger than Saratobi, so he doesn't really have to answer to Saratobi if he doesn't want to. And unfortunately, even, let me rephrase that. It's not that he doesn't have to answer. He's still sorry about that. He's still the Hokage. He has to answer. What am I talking about? But Jiraiya isn't just someone you can call in, is the thing. And even if he could, Jiraiya does his own shit. Like, he can ignore Saratobi if he really wants to. So I understand where the idea comes from, and it's certainly a what if we could do, but I don't think it works in this sense. So I don't think Naruto gets held back from graduation simply because he was a late graduation. I get the idea, but I don't believe that's how it would work. Also, I don't see say someone coming in to train Naruto because of that. Also, we need to take into consideration that Gaara, while Gaara is not top of the class either here, because he had to bow out of a lot of the taijutsu courses until maybe near the end, because his sand got in the way and would automatically attack people sometimes if he tried to get into a physical fight. So he can't really do that, unfortunately. So for example, his academics are probably fine. Probably not as good as Sasuke's, but we don't actually know what Gaara's scores in his academy were. If he even went to the Ninja Academy, to be honest, because he already was the Shikaku. He might have just been given the title of a Genin just because he's got the Shikaku in there. But we assume he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's probably very intelligent. He was just, overwhelmed by the sheer level of, oh my God, I want to kill people most of the time. Now, with that being said, because of the whole balance issue, there's not a good spot for Gaara when you actually think of it. Naruto actually makes more sense. Gaara actually makes more sense to take out and put in the reserves in Naruto, because there's not really a good team combination for him. You can't break up the Inishika Cho, at least not without doing a what-if based around that. Yeah, he could work on Team 8, but I don't really see him as a tracker type. So the only one, at least of the three main teams, that makes any sort of sense is Team Kakashi. Because he can accent, say, the close range fighters like Sasuke and Naruto. And Sasuke has mid-range abilities too, sure. He can accent them with long range and defensive capabilities. But then do you cut out a team member? Honestly, what I came to the conclusion, the decision to do, is that we will have an extra team member on here. So Gaara will be the fourth member of, or fifth in this case, because if you're looking at the whole team as the Jonin Sensei and everything else, of Team Kakashi. Now, why did I go this route? Well, while we don't get a lot of it, it's to say that it's impossible to have a 5-man team is not. We look at, say, like the Sasuke retrieval mission, for example. That's a 5-man team, and that's just who Shikamaru was able to find. If he could we know why Shino wasn't there, because most people agree they would have gotten Sasuke back. But like if Shino had been there, they would have added Shino. If Lee were capable of going, they probably would have added Lee. He's at least I got 5, or at least I got 4. I can't remember how many said. At least I got 4 people. So it's not impossible to have. Now, granted, that's a Chunin leading a team on a separate mission, not a Genin squad. But still, the precedent is there for a larger number of teams to some degree. Add on to the fact that after Rasa's little incident with the leaf, the attack on Gaara, Saratobi probably looked at. Now, someone brought up that Gaara's condition wasn't a condition. Jinchuriki status wasn't inherently a secret, but the thing is, no one in the Leaf seemed to actively say, so he has the Shikaku. No one seemed to say that. So, well, it probably wasn't actively a secret. They probably didn't, like, no one bothered to check in, like, know that this was the Jinchuriki of the Shikaku. But this time around, after, like, Arasa kind of got in trouble with it by teaming up with Danzo and all that, he certainly, it probably has been figured out after some point that Gaara is, in fact, the Shikaku's Jinchuriki. So, having someone on the team who, for example, has a Sharingan, like Kakashi, granted, we've never seen him use his Sharingan to pacify a tail beast. That's a good question. Do you think Kakashi could do that? We assume he could, because that's why one of the reasons Danzo had all those Sharingan on him, it was to help control the Ninetales. So we assume that even if it's not your Sharingan, you should, in theory, be able to pacify tail beasts with it if you know how to practice right. And beyond that, it makes sense that having the two Naruto and Gaara work well together. When they've kind of shown some stuff in class, they've shown that they have trained together and been practicing together. Naruto's like physical abilities have gone honestly through the roof, being able to learn how to avoid the sand, even learning to hit harder to hit even through the sand. Not quite as hard to say like Lee does, where he just boom, like just crashes right through it, but hard enough that the sand maybe his hand almost gets through it. And the fact that he can use the Shadow Clone to overwhelm Gaara it shows that Naruto's improved quite a bit. So I think there would be an exception made here that Gaara gets to be on Team 7. So that's where I'm leading. If we're 11 minutes in, and I have to explain all of that. But it's important because I had so many people give me so many different. Sorry, my hand smells like deer. Long and short, my brother-in-law, my half-sister's husband, is a hunter, and it's deer season here. So he actually brought us some, like deer bones and stuff for my dog, and she doesn't want anything to do with it. So but there's a lot of meat on there. So actually, what I've been doing is like carving up, and I'm actually going to try to cook it up because she's probably not used to like this raw meat because we don't give her raw meat. And B, she's probably not used to deer because we don't give her deer. So if I cook it up, maybe she'll be like, oh, it's human food. But right now my hands stink of venison. But anyway, we would cut then to Gaara and Naruto, getting into class, Shikamaru, and they're sitting next to each other too. It's not like Naruto's alone here, and Shikamaru says, "What are you doing here? This is not the for drop. See this is regulation headband. We're gonna be trained together." I was saying, "Yeah, whatever." And so obviously you hear the safe, made it, and Naruto's like, "Sakura." Now again, Naruto maybe isn't as annoying here as I said in the first part, because he's got someone to actually be a legit friend and give him attention. But I still think he likes Sakura enough to have a crush on her, but not enough that he's like obsessed on her. Where basically it's not Sakura's insane and illogical feelings towards Sasuke, because they really are just insane and illogical. He's good looking. Oh, you're hurt. You're sad, boy. What was it? As I heard Cinema Theory put it when talking about Twilight, my magic sex will cure sad boy. That's kind of what Sakura's mentality was. I've met girls like that too. Like, my magic sex will cure sad boy. Girl, you no. But the Sakura still I don't think Naruto's sitting next to Sasuke either. So I don't think she actually pushes Naruto out of the way. So I'm sitting next to Sasuke. And Sakura sits down first. Fine, I'm going to sit next to Gaara. Is that right, Gaara? I was like, sure, no problem. And then he just gives a smile. I was like, I kind of like him better than Sasuke. Because he actually is legitimately nice. So that goes a long way. The bad boy look only gets you so far if you don't have a heart of gold, which Sasuke, quite frankly, did not. He wasn't a bad guy. So let's be very clear. Sasuke, up until the curse mark started to influence him, was not a bad dude. He was just, had a lot of trauma, and it kind of, came out. But to be fair, also, I mean, he became a pretty shitheaded person after a while, and now he has to spend the rest of his life making amends. Obviously, I don't think we also get Naruto getting in Sasuke's face, because Naruto thanks to training with Gaara when he has duked it out with Sasuke, has actually gone toe-to-toe with Sasuke now. Like, he's relatively on par with Sasuke when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. I'd go so far as to say he's arguably a little better because he's got just a little better reflexes on dodging. But Sasuke's just got the better, like, physical strength right now. And better overall technique. Still, they're roughly on par, which means Sasuke probably doesn't find Naruto quite as annoying. And in fact, he might hold him in a lot more respect here than he does in the original. And he definitely holds Gaara in respect. Because Sasuke has always wanted to actually go full on with Gaara. And Gaara, Gaara's like, I can't spar. It's only near the end that Gaara started to spar. And every time he tried, the sand got in the way. So it's like, I can't really hit this guy without the sand. It's like, sorry, Gaara. It's like, yeah, that's okay. It's better than what would normally happen. It's like, what would normally happen? Nothing. Just it wouldn't go. It wouldn't really work. He doesn't let the people know I might accidentally kill you. We should know Gaara's personality at the moment. Like, he still has to deal with Shikaku all the time, like trying to get at him. But with Naruto, there's somewhat a core person in his life who relates to it and who has the Nine Tails. Who they are brothers in arms. They are without being biologically related, they are family, and that helps to keep him grounded. And the fact he's even, like I did in the first video, he's even occasionally when the Shikaku maybe tries to rear its head, basically like, no, you won't. You will go. It's like, shut up, huh? You think you can tell? I said, shut up. It's like, what the hell? Like in his head, he's using like magnet release or something like that. Just be like, it's like, huh? I will not let you hurt anyone I care about. No, never. And so Gaara's keeps Shikaku pretty in check, I think, in this version, because he is now a lot more stable. Anyway, the teams get called, and like Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke and Sakura Haruno. Hey, I'm Doom, Sasuke Uchiha. Oh man, and Gaara Sabaku, Gaara of the Desert. Wait, what? Oh, hey, awesome. But honestly, it's Sakura puts it. Sensei, normally they're 3-man teams. What's going on? Yes, it is. But given the odd number of students this year, and what's the best way to put it? And certain factors, we decided to make an exception for this year for Team 7. And so Naruto's like, hey, I got Sakura and I got my bro Gaara. Screw Sasuke, whatever. Oh, interesting. And so your team leaders, your Jonin senseis will come and pick you up, and everyone comes. Obviously, Kakashi's late. Naruto plays the prank. Everybody goes up to the roof. Naruto points out like he likes to train, likes ramen, and training, and hanging out with his friend Gaara. Gaara points out, I also like ramen. Ramen. I like to train. And I could see Gaara and if when I can, I like to take naps. Like, he doesn't get a lot of naps, obviously. And obviously Sakura just like, what do you hate? Naruto, go, man. It's like, oh, that was kind of mean. And Sasuke, I don't particularly like a lot of things. I hate a lot of things. I don't really particularly like anything. Anyway, I see. Well, you're all unique with your own different ideas. So join me at training on 7 at 7 in the morning tomorrow. Oh, don't eat breakfast or you'll puke. Now, Gaara, I do think is because Gaara is probably he's not the most book smart of them, but he's probably the most level-headed of the entire group. So he's probably thinking logically, like, that doesn't make any sense. And he tells out Naruto as they're hanging out having dinner. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. He'd want us at our if we're gonna pass one of the tests, we need to be at our best. It's like, but he said we'd puke. I mean, how intense could it be? I don't know, but I'm not quite buying it. Okay then. Well, all right then. And so they eat breakfast. They show up. Naruto, Gaara's, everyone's still tired, though Gaara's perfectly fine along with Sasuke. He doesn't sleep much anyway. It's like, hey everybody, sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way. All right. So you're gonna try to chance these 3 bells. 3 bells. That's right. That's right. And this time, because he does 3 bells. A, because he's trying to pin them against each other, but B, he can also use the excuse that I was told you made a comment that there hasn't been a 4-man squad of Genin before, and you're right, there isn't. That's why the loser, whoever doesn't get a bell, is going to be weeded out and taken out of the program entirely. Weeded out and sent back to the academy. We can only got 3 members after all. It's like, there's no way we're gonna lose. So I was like, you can come out and do anything about it, even lethal force. Um, but I can't remember. You can do anything. You can even come at me with lethal force, but not until I say. And call obviously Naruto is a loser. Goes after Sasuke. Not so fast. I didn't say start yet. But you came at me with the full intent to kill. So how can I say this? I'm starting to like you guys. All right, ready and begin. And they disappear. Now the bell test here. Well, they understood that part. They're hidden well. Now, Gaara and Naruto have probably, found each other. Because Naruto and Gaara are not going to, go against each other at all. No, they're going to work together. And it's like, so how are we going to do So how are we going to do this? I have an idea. And Gaara immediately is using his sand, and he's being very fine about it, trying to just take the bells, cut them up there, and he just ching rings like a shot. Huh? It's like, Gaara, I assumed you'd try to use your sand, so I reinforced these bells. I made sure the strings were made of a tougher metal, or a tougher substance. I also reinforced it with just a little bit of chakra, so you're not going to be cutting it with your sand so easily. Gaara then tries to catch Kakashi off guard with the sand, but Kakashi, jumps up. Because Gaara is here, Kakashi is fully aware. I'm not going to be able to read Make Out Paradise on this. But Kakashi's also aware of how the sand generally seems to work. And while he's not going to be using Lightning Blade per se on him, he can still charge up a Lightning Blade, keep it in his hand, and the chakra just recedes. So he can basically use it to kind of pulse the sand away. And so the sand just comes rushing in at Kakashi. Well, substitution. Oh, let's see. Where are you? And I was like, right here. Shadow Clone Jutsu! Oh, and multiple Shadow Clones coming up. And Naruto starts coming in at Kakashi. Oh, he's good. He's good. He actually dodges a couple blows from Kakashi. That's right. I've heard they've been training together. Well, the sand's fast. My guess is he's been using it to hone his reflexes. These guys are pretty tough. And the sand comes in and it's like, got you. Sand coffin. Sand coffin. Looks like we got you. No, you got me, not the bells. Do you really think it'd be that easy? And then poof, turns into a log. Huh? And then all of a sudden Kakashi appears underground. Boom! And again, he has a lightning blade, but more in a fist, and it's more of a Chidori. He basically uses the minimum amount of chakra he can, and so Gaara's sand goes in the block, but poof, goes through. Boom! Gaara gets popped in the gut. So you're definitely a problem to deal with, Gaara, but not something I can't handle. But once you go down, I'm assuming the rest would follow. And so Naruto and Gaara are doing their best. But Gaara is able to get some sand. And Kakashi actually have to consider, do I use my Sharingan on this guy? He is tough. And Naruto was like, okay, what are we going to do now? And then obviously, well, you're definitely not going to make it easy, are you? All right, fine. Earth stuff. And so Gaara throws more sand. Naruto comes in. Oh, you knocked a bone down, you silly. If you're that clump, that was the bone falling down. Big old thigh bone. Naruto and Gaara are trying their best. Sasuke is doing his best looking for an opening. And then finally, Naruto goes down, and Gaara just, again, gets knocked out, courtesy of, a shadow clone that, Gaara didn't see with a little bit of extra chakra involved to get through his shield. Because we know, because it's earth-based, it's just sand, the lightning can get through. We saw that with the Chidori. Now, with that all being said, that's where Sasuke comes in, drops his guard, obviously thinking Kakashi dropped his guard, and Kakashi didn't. So that's where he's hiding. And so Sakura still gets knocked out by Sasuke. Gaara is able to really get Naruto, but Naruto helps Gaara. You okay? This guy, he's too tough. Now, you can argue with me if you think Kakashi without his eye patch could beat Gaara here. I'm going to be straight out honest with you, too. Gaara here, while he definitely got also Academy Jutsu under his belt, which he can also use, which I haven't even thought about to utilizing this. He probably maybe even tries using a clone at one point, just a clone jutsu. Like the sand comes and then, Kakashi just tries again to put him down, but I was like, it's a clone. Gaara here, though, is weaker than his canon counterpart. because that Gaara has no qualms about straight out killing, which means he's not holding back whatsoever, and he's going just full on raw bloodlust with anyone he fights. With this, he will ultimately probably become stronger than his canon counterpart, but here he's probably in a weaker scenario just because he hasn't had all that happened to him right here. But he's weaker just in the sense that he's holding back how much power he's using. He's not weaker in the sense of his control. If anything, he actually probably has better control here because he's had formal training. We have no idea if Gaara had any formal training before he became, before he was on his team with his siblings. My guess is no, because no one wanted anything to do with him. He was the weapon of the sand. So he just had to learn everything on his own. Yes, they have a sensei technically, but whether or not he actually showed Gaara anything though is up for debate. Maybe just to do basic hand signs, channeling your chakra, all that. But here, Gaara actually had, real, training, real practice and refinement of his abilities. And so Gaara, while technically weaker here, has far more control. So it's more balanced. I think Kakashi might actually have to pull out his Sharingan against Gaara after a while, just because. And it's probably not for a great deal of time, but he does a genjutsu basically on Gaara's, knocks out Gaara. Unfortunately, Shikako can't take over at the moment because the Sharingan kind of would suppress his chakra as well. What are you doing? What are you scratching at the... Stop it. What are you scratching at? Domino. She's scratching at the mattress for... Hold on. I'll get whatever's in there in just a second. And maybe Naruto doesn't see it, and Kakashi quickly puts his Sharingan down. He sees Gaara knocked out. Naruto and Sasuke see each other, and they just kind of charge in, but then the bell rings. So what ultimately happens here? First of all, they wake up Gaara. What happened? It's like, you got knocked out. Like Kakashi said, he pulled up his headband, and then it's kind of a blur. Yeah, well, you're no slouch, Gaara. I certainly couldn't take you lightly. And Naruto, I gotta admit, even though you weren't able to get a bell, you and Gaara certainly work well together. And Sasuke, you almost tried to come at me as well. So Sakura is the one who get. By the way, I think that is no, it's not bullshit that Naruto got tied to the stump because he tried to steal lunches. That's why he got tied up more than anything else. Otherwise, let's not kid ourselves. It would have been Sakura who should have been tied to that post. Because she actually did absolutely jack shit, whereas at least the other two tried. Think words here. So Sakura would be the one tied to this post. And, they talk about, but I got good news for you. You're all being dropped from the program permanently. Well, that's what I said. And so, it's like, well, you didn't even get the basics. Well, not entirely. Yeah, and so it's so basic teamwork. And it's, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Wait, you want us to work together? Yeah, of course. And Sasuke, you think, and Sakura, you stood there worrying about Sasuke when Gaara and Naruto was struggling. Sasuke, you thought the others were so beneath you that you could do it on your own. And then he looks at Naruto and Gaara. I'll give you two credit. You two definitely can work as a team, work together nicely. So maybe you'll just go back to the academy. But you still need, you lack the ability to work with anyone apart from each other. Ninja's missions gets carried out in teams. You need individual abilities, but it's a group effort. And so ultimately, they say he gives them the air a chance. Sakura's starving, offers the food, and you broke the rules. I hope you're ready for the consequences. It's like, 4 of us are one. That's your excuse. And Garsan's like going crazy. Just, you pass. Huh? You pass. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. So he's kind of cool. And however, this time they let Sakura off the post. It was funny for Naruto. It makes no sense here. They have Gaara here. And so they'd go on their basic missions. Tora probably wouldn't be that difficult with Gaara there. And Gaara's probably honestly enjoying these light missions, to be honest. It's like, hey, I don't have to attack or kill anyone. This is great. Eventually, though, the bridge builder mission would come. And Naruto nearly tries to, I will annihilate you! You can't annihilate the client. So there's that. Now, with that being said, that's where we're going to end things off. Actually, we'll end things off with the Demon Brothers. I think that makes sense. So, Kakashi notices the puddle. I think Gaara, thanks to Shikaku kind of being a bit more present, has a better sense for danger than other individuals. So he does sense it as well. Naruto, not so much, but he does notice the look on Gaara's face. He's seen it before. And Naruto suddenly gets a bit more serious, like, where? And just kind of like, mouse, where? And he goes, The just kind of uses his eyes, and so, obviously, they attack Kakashi. Kakashi Sensei! And then, obviously, Gaara comes in, just binds them in the sand coffin. And now I imagine now I could actually see Gaara probably being more used like Sakura for a lot of defense. He's probably the last line. Like, they use Naruto and Sasuke as probably the two frontliners, and Gaara hangs back because his sand defense is kind of invaluable for protecting a client when the rest of the team is attacked. Now, granted, he could probably take the Demon Brothers on his own, no problem. But it makes more sense for him to hang back. That's probably what they've agreed upon in terms of like their style of fighting. And so when they like bypass and Sasuke gets in the way, the sand comes, and then Kakashi takes them out. And they reveal that they were hired by Gato. They were hired to take out the bridge builder. Anywho, that is where we'll end part 2. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.